The Witcher, originally released in 2007, this game has not aged super well. I've actually wanted to do this video for a while where I go back and try the original Witcher games and perhaps even do a big critique of them, which I've done for, of course, The Witcher 3, one of my most successful videos of all time. The problem is you will realize pretty quickly that there are some issues with this game that are a remnant of this game, for one, having been released in 2007, and also because this game was the first outing from CD Projekt Red. Previous to this, they had only ever worked in games publishing and basically translating video games from the West and the East into Polish so that they could distribute it within Poland itself. This was not something they had ever done before, and you can tell the passion's there, but the game is a little clunky. From the moment we boot up the game, we are faced with two options, The Witcher and New Adventures, as the two game modes presented. And while this may be confusing initially, the one positive thing we can say is that the game seems to be running fairly well at over 1200 FPS, which is, I mean, that's the best frame rate I've had in a while. I just tried the new Call of Duty and I was getting like 32 over there, so this is great. In the Witcher mode, we play through the Witcher adventure through a dark world where there's no good or evil, just choices and their consequences, which of course is the broader theme throughout the rest of the Witcher universe. If you've read the books, which I've got back there, all these red books, then you know very well that this is right in line with what you would expect. And our other option is the New Adventures option. Play one of the New Adventures, each of which tells a singular story based on the world and characters of The Witcher. Now, I would imagine that most people will choose the Witcher option to begin. After all, the game is called The Witcher, so let's pick that one. Then we're faced with our difficulty options. We have easy, medium, and hard. Easy for novice gamers, combat is easier, alchemy is not required to survive. Intermediate level, recommended for most gamers, combat's challenging, alchemy is useful. Or hard for advanced gamers, combat is very difficult and alchemy is required to survive. If we go with their recommendation, medium, then we move on to the next page, which really begins to show this game's age at the outset. This is like an action adventure RPG with a heavy focus on the narrative. And so to be presented with a mouse option or a mouse and keyboard option is just a little jarring, I think, for most people nowadays, at least. Let's choose mouse and keyboard for now. Let's launch into the game. We get some artwork as we load in. Not a big deal. Cool, cool, cool. And then we load in and we see the world of The Witcher for the first time. And it looks like a 2007 game. Honestly, a good looking 2007 game, if I'm being real. One thing I will say is that the sound quality in this game, though, is utterly atrocious. I mean, just listen to this, okay? I'm gonna turn the volume up. Listen to this. Take this in.
For a final, desperate fight. Abominable beasts ruled backwoods, highways, and former battlefields alike. In cities and villages, folk were left wondering what had happened to the Witchers.
They were probably deaf because all of the audio is balanced to like 98%, so you can't really distinguish much of anything when the audio is going. It takes a lot of tweaking in the menus. You see the camera shake. Oh, run, 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 run. You know, it's fine. It's a 2007 first attempt at an action RPG, and in that pursuit, it's endearing, but it's not aged very well. Fast forward and we get into the game itself, which prompts us for some combat. As you can see here, oh God, the sensitivity is crazy. Look at that. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, and here we're prompted with our first lesson in combat, which is a little confusing. Basically, left click on an enemy to attack. Okay, easy enough. Let's run over to an enemy. We click on him, and he just starts swinging. And you see our cursor changed color there for a second. If we click at the moment that that happens, we basically go into a combo with higher damage. And so the combat is almost entirely dictated by your timing. It's more of a rhythm game than about like positioning or like building things super carefully out or angling properly. It is almost all about timing within these attacks. Later on, once you become a little more acclimated and comfortable with the combat, that timing will become second nature. And then after that, it's mostly about character build out, making sure you're using alchemy to apply the right effects to weapons and healing items and things like that. But up front, it feels like a rhythm game. And you gotta love these old school running animations. I just, brings me back. So the reason I felt like I should make this video now, finally, after wanting to make it for a long time, was because they just announced today, actually while we were streaming live on my second channel, Luke Stevens Live. Check it out if you haven't been over there yet. We have a great time. They announced that they're going to be making a remake of The Witcher 1 in Unreal Engine 5, building it up from the ground up, starting from scratch. And I think that that is utterly tremendous because this game, while I think there's a lot here that's worth experiencing, just frankly hasn't aged very well. And because players, let's be real, we tend to be a little bit, let's say, modern centric, and we are a little spoiled with how games are today. Going back and trying these OG games in their clunky forms is just not as easy to do as maybe it is for somebody who really likes retro games. It's just not something that a lot of people are comfortable doing. And to be clear, it's not because the games suck or are terrible or anything like that. It's just because elements of the game's design have aged poorly, and that makes it difficult to engage with and have fun with, more importantly, on an ongoing basis. And there's not a lack of players that want to go back and experience these games for the first time. There are many players who want to try it. It's just a matter of them being old, and 15 years is a long time. In 15 years, a lot can change, and hopefully the remake, whenever we get it, transforms a lot of this into a markedly different game that's a little easier to enjoy. Now, I should also say that as of right now, there is no word on how exactly this remake is going to take place or what it's going to look like more precisely. We don't know if it's going to use the same combat system, control system, the same like sort of over-the-shoulder camera like this. We don't know any details, and it sounds like CD Projekt Red doesn't know either. They're just kind of figuring it out, but they announced that they are working on it. So we're gonna see. But as of right now, I'm just excited to hear that they're doing something with this, because a lot of players who experienced these games for the first time, say after the Witcher series on Netflix, they want to go back and try the OG games. And while The Witcher 3 is certainly easy to get into and try for the first time if you're not even necessarily a super experienced gamer, this game is a little harder for the casual gamer to get into. Look at these finishers. Oh, wow. Head chopped right off. I don't know how that made sense. Jacob, do an instant replay. I don't know how that worked.
Combo, combo.
Now, let me be clear. I can already sense the comments coming in saying, this game is actually really, really good and you're being too mean on it. I understand. There's a lot here, like I said, that is worth playing. And if you can go through this yourself and just enjoy the game as it is, I think there's a lot to enjoy here. But to pretend as though this isn't super clunky is just ridiculous. Like, come on. I do like that there's different styles of combat. So we have the fast style, which we can enter by pressing X. And you see we can swap between these. With Z and X, you can swap stances, basically. And I kind of like that. It's kind of like Ghost of Tsushima, where you have the different stances for different enemy types. It's a good touch. Or, double tapping, WASD, you'll actually sprint or roll to get some positioning on people a little faster. It's a good touch. I mean, I think there's some depth here. It's just, for the casual gamer that wants to try The Witcher for the first time, they look at it and they're gonna be like, no, I'm good. Oh, and built-in pausing, a dedicated pause the game button. Don't you miss that? Dude, this used to be like a staple of RPG games. It used to be like the thing. So like, when things get really intense and you need to pause and craft, it's not open the menu, then go to crafting, then do this. It's pause, dedicated pause button. In this case, it's space bar. They took the whole space bar to give you a dedicated pause option. And then you go and you handle whatever you need to do with like changing stances or any of this stuff. It's so funny to me. It's old school, but it's very nostalgic. I got to give them credit for it. Pause. I can swap camera angle. Boom. And I get right back in the action. Look at that. And you know what? The audio, it makes me really appreciate how far we've come, because back in the day, the majority of storage on game discs was not used for game files or textures or models or anything like that. It was used for audio. audio took up the overwhelming majority of space on CDs. Go watch some of the development documentaries they did for like Fallout 3, and you'll really appreciate how much audio played a role in the limitations that these games had in terms of scale. People think, oh, it's the size of the world, it's the size of like the number of characters and variety there. Not necessarily. Audio had a ton to do with it. And nowadays we're kind of spoiled because, oh, 100 gig download, okay, whatever. I mean, we were playing like the new Call of Duty, and in the middle of it, like we had a crash. We had to go and download a 40 gig update file. Like that's crazy. A 40 gig day one update. That's ridiculous. Is it bad that playing this just makes me really want to go back into The Witcher 3? Like, is that bad? Or is that just a testament to how good The Witcher 3 is? That I just want to go back and try it again? Because goodness gracious, this is pretty damn tedious. Like again, if I tried to make a video game myself, I'm sure it wouldn't be much better than this. But, you know, and nowadays, much less, you know, back in 2007. But it certainly could benefit from a refresh, which is why I'm very glad that we're getting a full-on remake. Run over here, we'll open the winch. Da-na-na-na-na. Turn that, Geralt. Damn. He needs to use some conditioner in his hair.
The kettle is calling the pot black.
Oh, look at, oh, it's so gory. Oh, crab people. I sound like XQC right now, don't I? Oh, look, is that a chicken? Is that a chicken? Oh. Oh, she got him. Dude, it's so clunky. I love it. And there's little things that you start to get the hang of, like, oh, I need to quickly access a potion, or I want to see a status effect. If you hold down shift, it brings up your cursor, and then you can mouse over different things to see what they do or to change stance and things. You get the hang of it, and it starts to click as you get further into the game, but it's not very intuitive. At least to me. Maybe I'm just super spoiled. And I tell you what, if you go into the other stories that are available in this game with like the smaller adventures, there's a ton of stuff here. And if you like the world of The Witcher, find it even moderately interesting, there's just a ton to do. Like, it's pretty great. And so while it's not like the most robust gameplay experience nowadays, it's still pretty fun because there's just a ton of Witcher content. And if you're a Witcher fan, it's Witcher stuff. Who doesn't want Witcher stuff? Oh, look at this though. The audio isn't playing. It's groovy music. There's no dialogue though. It's so upbeat. Oh, that's great. Geralt applying to be a dishwasher. I love it. Oh God, the music's so loud. Calm down. Okay, I'm gonna turn it down. You see these secondary stories, it's basically like jumping into a DLC after the fact. So you get a bunch of stuff already built out, abilities, parry stuff, you know, all of these different signs. Whereas if you play through the main story, you acquire these things slowly but surely. So this gives you an idea of what you'll get after you play through most of the first chunk of the story. And if I close this down, actually I can't, I have to use all of these talent points. Okay, boom, I can close that down. And now I'm good to move around. And you know, this is what I personally enjoy about The Witcher are the stories, the world building. That's what I love about The Witcher. You know, the combat, for example, in The Witcher 3, while I think was really solid, I wouldn't say it was like breathtaking or utterly amazing. I think it was pretty good. And especially as an open world RPG, it was pretty good. But the reason you play these games is for the story. It's for the world. And that's what The Witcher 1 offers, even if the other elements of it haven't aged tremendously well. And I mean, just like, look at this, as we walk around Vizima, just let the music take you. Look at the pot belly, dude. Oh. Got the dad bod going, dude. I relate. And I'm sorry. I'm braced for like the politically correct titles. Like, oh, she's a jolly old escort. Or perhaps maybe she's a happy, goofy wench. But no, they're just like whore. You know what? You know, maybe it's the translation. Maybe does she talk? Will she talk to me? Girls go to heaven. Bad girls go wherever they want. You know what? I think that's true. It's just funny. Just whore. Is this a bitch? No, it's a dog. Okay. And it's a Fatso. His name is Fatso. Dude, what they were on one when they worked on this. I know this is like technically a secondary team that did these mini stories, but Fatso and whore and oh man, thug, Fatso. There's multiple Fatsos. Look, this guy is exactly identical to this guy and to this guy. It's the same exact character model just walking around. That's funny. You know, we never said that there was going to be a lot of variety in the design of the characters or enemies, and that's totally okay. You know what? Grandpa, is this my grandpa or is it a grandpa? I guess they're not going to be too specific. Is this just a grandma? Okay, grandpa and grandma and another grandma. Okay, and another grandpa. You know, but hopefully you're getting the idea pretty clearly while we run through this, that there are certain games that like deserve and need remakes. And while like, I think The Last of Us Part 1 is a great example of a game that didn't really need a remake. Like the remaster did a good job. You could play it at 60 frames and have a great time with it. It didn't need a remake. It was welcome. And if it were cheaper, oh God, no. Roll, jump, roll, roll. Oh my goodness. Okay. This was a mistake. Like, but it didn't need a remake really. It just didn't. Whereas if you look at something like this, it's pretty clear that this game will truly benefit from a remake. And even if it's not like amazingly well done, even if it's just like pretty good, it will still be a huge step up as long as they stick to the core tenets of what they delivered here. Which is to deliver an awesome story, good character design, world building that's interesting, and to stay true to the books and the original novels by Andrzej Sapkowski. And as long as they can deliver that, I think the remake will be a welcome addition to CD Projekt Red's repertoire and everything else they have. There's just a ghoul walking in the background. But let me know if you think that I should tackle The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2, perhaps in future critiques and long form videos, because I'd like to. My fear has just been that if I were to devote all of that time to it, that perhaps people would be less enthused about it or might put it off until they get the chance for the remake. I don't know if it's worth tackling at this point. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And like I said, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes we shake it up. If there's new games, we stream a little bit extra if it like launches on a Thursday or Tuesday. But come over, check it out. We have stream highlights, clips, all sorts of supercuts of me playing these games so you can hang out with me while we do that. And if we're live, you can just jump in and say hi. I would love to see you. I know everybody tries to plug their secondary channels and it's like cringe or whatever. I totally get it, but we actually do have a lot of fun over there and I would love to see you. I'm getting emails while I'm filming from TurboTax. What? It's October. Why do I need? Stop it. It's not tax season. I don't want to think about that. And you know what? If you don't want to come out to the live streams for me, then come out for Todd, because Todd, you know what? We all need a little more Todd in our lives. And I need to be able to justify having paid too much for a cardboard cutout of Todd Howard. So if you come out, I will feel much more validated. So I would appreciate it. But I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for chilling with me. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you over on the live channel or in the next video, whichever comes first. Much love. I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.